Indeed, it is so important what our kids are watching or what kind of content they consume. Obviously, harder and harder to somehow being in control, and that's why it's so important that we all share responsibility and make sure that they can make the right choices. We move on. Now, I've already opened this day number 5 of the Global Webit Impact Week. Don't forget, hashtag Webit, comment, ask questions, or just share where you're from and build relations. I've started with information about what is going to happen. Obviously, what really matters in the digital entertainment and media is what is the future of digital entertainment and production, and what are the trends and what is shaping it. And we have the best person to challenge our panel here, the moderator, Denny Alfonso, Emmy-winning journalist and CEO of Tripon. Denny, hello to New York.
Welcome, everybody. Here we are. Initially, obviously doing all involved in the Global Impact Week. We're from many cities. I'm from New York, but actually I enjoy connecting to worldwide leaders. I was just talking with my co-hosts and I just shared that I was in Italy last time. I actually enjoyed the Global Impact Week, but this time I'm in New York. And I have like expertise here, unbelievable people that is gonna join us today. And today we're gonna talk about shaping the future of the digital. Last week I was checking Quest 2, the whole new Mark Zuckerberg toy. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people is checking for Christmas something related with artificial intelligence and holograms and so on, because it's a topic that everybody knows about. It's just like, you see like, virtual reality things and stuff, but you don't necessarily are an expert. But we have a panel of experts today that maybe we go through questions and kind of like, try to spread the word about this fantastic science. So joining us today is Arash Pendari. He is the founder of Vionlabs. Welcome, Arash.
Thank you.
Also, John Canning, executive producer of Digital Domain. Welcome, John.
Thank you. Although now I'm a former executive producer of Digital Domain, but we'll talk about that.
Okay. And last but not least, Kerstin Emhoff. She's the co-founder and president of PRETTYBIRD. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So as I was saying, the whole shaping the future of digital title is like, it's an overwhelming title, because obviously with the COVID-19, we have like a lot of expertise, not only doing this on the Zoom, but like taking advantage of the digital scenarios to really be more proactive. I just want to take up each one of you about those transitions, about like, being able to do everything through, the digital side, to the spectrum of Zoom or any other platform that requires, like the video thing, versus what happened in the past when you were allowed to just, basically do it face-to-face. Let's go ahead. Let's start with Kerstin.
Okay, well, we've had quite a transition from, live shooting, obviously, in locations all over the world, to my team rallied quite quickly when everything shut down for the pandemic to do all remote shooting. We did a lot of the big ads for Uber and Facebook about staying at home, and had all of our directors and teams shooting their families and their pets. But, our industry is very resilient. And by last summer, we were back to shooting on locations again. And so we're really back to normal in a way, except with very, very strict COVID protocols in place. So, it just wouldn't be possible for us to do the film production that we do if it was all on Zoom. So I think we had a little bit of a window of that, but we really had to get back to work.
All right. Well, how about for you guys, John? Well, you're not the digital domain guy anymore, but you used to, and I'm pretty sure you work on many projects that you took advantage of the whole digital spectrum during COVID. Talk to us about that.
Sure. Yeah, so only until recently, I was a digital domain executive producer for sort of all things not film and television, and recently moved to AMD, actually. And been spending a lot of time in the production world over the last 2 years dealing with the COVID-ness of it. And what I think is interesting is there was a push, certainly to try to figure out how to continue to do business or to get back to business, and a maturity of some of the tool sets that we had used. I mean, let's face it, Zoom was that was the cheap video conferencing product that you grabbed when you needed to talk to somebody, but wasn't battle ready, right?
Right.
And if you look across the range of products now, you look at Fifth Kind, you look at Evercast, you look at what happened to Frame.io being purchased by Adobe. Some of these tools, I know whole projects that were finished and color corrected and done in Frame.io by a virtual team. What it started to do is push tool sets that were not necessarily getting attention or needed to be professional grade or bulletproof, and the investments and the energy to go into that. And then it freed up productions. I had any number of productions, and I'm sure you all can relate to this, where it seemed like everybody and their dog wanted to be on set. And COVID was a thankful moment of being able to say, no, not everybody can be on set. And not everybody has to fly in and attend a production. How can you enable people to be on set? So the remote video village just extended, which I think was helpful to some of our productions. So it forced us to go down some paths that I think are going to help us as we get back to production in person. But it did help streamline some.
How about for your take, Arash? What happened for you guys?
I mean, coming from the technology side, I think following up both on what Kerstin and John said is that I have seen a lot of the whole production line have got a boost of technologies that help people working abroad with each other. You necessarily don't need to travel anymore somewhere to edit a video with somebody abroad or actually meet up somebody. So I think there's a lot of new tools that came out during the pandemic that helped everybody collaborate better. So Zoom is a small example of that, but I've seen a lot of tools helping everywhere from editors to other type of the production line to help each other work instead of meeting. From our side, I mean, we work with AI and personalization and data gathering and data extraction. So we've been very lucky. It's been very easy for us to work from home with each other and just utilize the simple tools as Zoom. But I think it's more interesting for where Kerstin and John is coming from, the production line. What's the super boost that got?
How do you, and on those lines, how do you implement the technology? How do you implement the AI, like for our audience, like kind of like explain that process? Because artificial intelligence is some like people don't even understand exactly how do you approach that within a project. How do you guys do that?
I mean, AI, it used to be this trend word, right? It used to be this thing that was in the innovation area for all companies, and nobody really took it that seriously. As far as I see it now, AI has become very streamlined, and it has become a necessary part of the development teams. A lot of the parts where people were working manually before have been automated, but I do believe that AI should be used to scale. We humans are creative, right? We do the creative part. We utilize the AI to scale the creativity. A good example of that is data gathering. Today, there's a lack of data of content when we want to create recommendations, when we want to be able to create everywhere from, say, watching features where you can skip the intro, skip the end credits to be able to seamlessly watch a TV show that you want. This was always done manually before. Now the AI can help out to basically do this automatically and at a scalable level.
So
does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. So saves time, saves money, I guess. What's your take on that, John, on AI?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I think you hit it right, that it used to be just a sort of generic thing, and a lot of references, but a lot of people, it's a tool. It's a tool set that helps us in a lot of particular circumstances to scale, to iterate. If I look at the Masquerade 2 system from Digital Domain, which was a facial capture system, it is a tool set that is enabling the sheer amount of content to be processed so that the artist can actually do the artist work, as opposed to the laborious tasks. It is a iterate, come back, the artists are fixing and tweaking, iterate, come back. And I think if we look at some of these underlying techniques, if you look at even in tool sets for production, photography or video, what it is enabling procedures. I laugh, what is it, the auto select in Photoshop, right?
Mhm.
No one loves the laborious task of pixel by pixel outlining something, and professionals are like, great, something that can get there, maybe I tweak it in afterwards, but is eliminating hours of work. So I think it's on that side. If you look at AI in, where people are like, oh, or is AI going to replace actors? No, it's another tool set to me that is enabling actors to act in some cases. It is like I said, the facial capture systems. If we look at driving characters and background characters in video games, we've been using AI for years. We're just trying to make it feel better and more natural. So
and more knowledgeable, because like the people just really don't know, and they just see AI so far away that like until they just kind of like listening to one of these photos, then you will understand what is AI. How about for you guys at PRETTYBIRD, Kerstin?
Well, we are still pretty much in traditional storytelling, haven't really incorporated AI into that.
Why is that? Is it because like it's not like that, because you still use the data and technology within your productions, I bet, but like why no AI just yet?
Because more like we're doing documentaries and feature films and TV series, and we're not really, I mean, maybe in special effects or something like what John is saying, there's something in the background that they're using AI for effects. But we have one of my other companies, Ventureland, we've been doing a consulting with a company that's doing AI humans and doing the creative development for what does it look like if, let's say, we create the AI version of Kim Kardashian. And Kim becomes, Kim is a founder of a company called Skims. So what if Kim, the AI version of Kim, is actually your customer service rep online when you're purchasing Skims products? And just looking at the technology and how photoreal these people are, these AI humans are. And that's been really interesting because it does bring up what is the next step in terms of human AI, and looking at, are you going to be able to be a celebrity or an influencer and license your image rather than actually showing up to one of my shoots?
That's interesting. Yeah,
it is something that I think it's early days that, the versions we're seeing are still a little glitchy, but it looks like there's a lot of money being poured into development of that technology.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. My former life, but spending a lot of time in the industry dealing with what the concept of a digital human is, right? And again, humans do human really well. Being able to have a digital system impersonate a human is really hard. And a lot of what we've used AI systems for is enabling one actor to drive the persona of another. Classic one I always use is Josh Brolin driving Thanos, right? That was Josh Brolin acting, wearing the digital makeup of a giant purple character. And then you see the replication of actors digitally where it could be them. And there's classic cases where we're just replicating the actor digitally because you're doing something to them that might be invasive, dangerous, you know, but it is that actor. It's just as one-to-one as you can get it. Then you look at, you know, to your point of in the commercial industry, you know, there are what was it, the Bruce was it Bruce Willis, I think, in a Russian doing a Russian commercial. You know, it's Bruce like, right, I'm, you know, I am going to act in that for a certain price and maybe not have to fly to that location or do that work.
Will be interesting to see, as Kerstin was saying, what's the take on, like, you know, celebrities that can be in two places at the same time and maybe, you know, give the rights to use it as a, I don't know, like a music video or so, and then the other one in a movie or so. So at this point, I mean, how far are we from the whole hologram thing and all that? I mean, Arash, what do you think? How far are we? Are really, really far, or are people just, because I heard some concerts, some like not necessarily super famous people, but they, you know, utilizing some sort of like holograms within the concerts. How far are we from like really now with COVID and everything, like seeing it more frequently?
I mean, we've seen Tupac come back to life. We've seen Michael Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
I think the technology is definitely there, but it's this uncanny valley where I still feel like it cannot be fully compared to the full experience of an actual person, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I do believe there's this digital version. I don't remember the name of the Japanese anime star that became super popular that had hologramic concerts. That character was digital to begin with, and that was very, very successful. So I do believe there's a market for it and it's getting there, but I have a hard time seeing reviving old artists to life again this way and doing it successfully. I think we're looking at it a little bit from the wrong perspective. If we start digital, I think we can create a world around it, and that's where Facebook and Meta and all of this is coming in. But what we're trying to do right now is a little bit off, if you ask me. I don't know what Kerstin and John thinks.
Right, John, what do you think? Because, like, I mean, when I was when I was introducing the topic, I'm sorry, I was just saying, like, you know, everybody's like, wow, with Zuckerberg putting Quest 2 out there and kind of like, you know, and now I know that Apple is coming with a device on 2023. That's what I heard about virtual reality as well. So what's your take on this? I mean, is it really like Arash say that, like, maybe, you know, we're like too soon doing the whole thing around it? Or
well, I being directly implicated into some of the hologram projects over the last couple of years. You know, Digital Domain did the Tupac experience, and there's, you know, you can see it was what they call a head replacement. You know, where you have that body was real. That was a real person, and all you're doing is replacing the head. Very much a visual effects sort of effect. The key thing to think about when you talk about holograms is what most people refer to a hologram isn't actually technically a hologram. And a hologram is also considered a display method. So what you display, and I think this is where Arash, and hopefully I said that right, was talking about was, you know, what are you displaying? It matters, right? And how you display it matters. You know, I can go into the backstory, but I'm not going to do it around doing a famous football coach during the Super Bowl, which I was directly responsible for, and they wanted a hologram on the field, which is technically really hard in the daylight. You know, it's how you're displaying things. And, you know, Digital Domain, Teresa Tang, which is a singer, a Chinese singer who's no longer with us, is doing full concerts, but we're talking years after the Tupac work, right? And depending on the kind of thing works, and depending on who you, and again, you know, Teresa Tang is a body double with a face replacement, right? You know, it's, again, humans do human really well. So anything that folks can do to hedge the bet, to make, you know, oh, if you don't have to do a digital body because you've got a real body, right? Humans move like humans do. So that's great if you've got somebody that moves right. The voice is hard to replicate. Again,
I was just going to ask, yeah.
So all of these things, when you're building a digital human, are the challenges that, you know, again, a human can pull off. So a lot of what you've seen are of recreating people and things like that is how are they hedging their bet? And some are better than others, right? But yeah, being able to take a completely digital persona and project them in some way, you don't have a basis for not understanding. The problem is that if you're trying to digitally replicate somebody that people know, you have to be accurate because people have a reference.
Right. It has to be impeccable.
With that Japanese character, which I wish I could remember as well, the only reference we have is that Japanese character, right? Like there's it, you know, so if, you know, in the process of digital humans, if the, and again, if I create a digital human that isn't based on somebody you know, then you don't have a frame of reference to necessarily critique certain things. You know, it's
right.
So,
so that will excuse you to do some sort of like mistake, if you call it. I want to hear Kerstin, because you work with music videos and you know, artists and everything. Why, like, they don't, like, I don't see them though so often, you know, like I see videos from J Balvin, you know, like Maluma, these like reggaeton artists, like new artists, and they basically are trying to use, you know, kind of like virtual reality, kind of holograms on their videos somehow. How do you see this happening? Because obviously Michael Jackson is dead, but they want to put an hologram on it, like on within their, you know, videos. How do you see this whole thing impacting your industry when you produce videos? So do you see that happening?
I mean, I think holograms are, you know, it's something that is not going to be just a mainstream use for, I don't think, any commercials or music videos or anything. I think the technology was created by places like DD and other places, and people started using it. The thing that we see, whether it's in the music business or the advertising business, we worked on the NFL project that John's talking about. You need to have someone fund the ability to make these things happen. And so unless you're getting private investors, like Facebook is pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into VR technology and AR filmmaking, when brands stopped doing it because they really couldn't see the value of creating virtual reality for an audience that didn't have the headsets and didn't really know what to do with it. So you see artists like Kanye, or, you know, I totally forgot, we just did a video for Beck that was generated by AI. And, you know, you see certain artists that are going to put the money into trying things and using tech, or, you know, tech that's starting to come out in a way that's innovative. And I think that is what creatives do. They're always trying to push the boundaries of what's new and what's going to get attention, because that's what the audience wants. And that's really important. But at some point, it's a business. And so unless the tech, you know, the tech is going to really help generate more of an audience or develop an audience further, they're not going to keep spending the money. And all of these things that we do in advertising are way in advance of a lot of times the full technology coming out and being used in movies and television. So there's kind of a catch-22 in being able to fund projects. And especially in music videos where the budgets are a lot lower, there's not many artists that really can fund the more advanced technology. But we're still seeing it. You know, we all are watching and looking and trying to see what's coming out. You know, we work very closely with Meta on a lot of what they're doing in virtual spaces. And I'll say the biggest problem that we're really encountering right now is we need to train a generation of creatives to tell stories and understand what's possible in these worlds. And that's what we haven't been able to do. We're creating the tools for them, but you don't have the filmmakers or the storytellers even ever able to experience them. And so telling a story in a 360-degree virtual world is a lot different than telling it, you know, in a 2D world. And that's an area I think there needs to be more investment and development.
Absolutely.
Something
So
really, if I just may.
yes, go ahead.
I think somebody that actually succeeded very well in this was Fortnite and the concerts they did with DJ Marshmello, for example. They had 10 million people there
Exactly.
at the concert. I think we're taking it, I mean, when we're trying to make it a physical world, like Kerstin said, it becomes very expensive, very hard. The digital productions have come further and further. Just watching like how Jon Favreau makes his virtual creations with VR, and he has the VR camera as he films the Disney movies and the Marvel movies. I think we need better tools to be able to create virtual productions and give that to the creators out there, and we will see amazing things being created out there. Fortnite is just the beginning. It's just a small piece of the puzzle of where this could go. So I think that's a better example than looking at the hologram concerts that are out there.
Yeah, and I think it's also an example of where the dollars are, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's spot on. Look, the commercial budgets and music video budgets don't normally have the capacity to support the kind of advanced work that you would see in a film or a TV show. I mean, it's just, and what we're seeing is some of these techniques are getting cheaper and easier, right? And you're seeing a Charlotteson process at a DD and others where they're doing neural rendering, where that technique is actually starting to take the place of building a digital character. And those techniques are cheaper. So some of this, the more expensive tools and what used to be unattainium is now being more approachable for productions. And then you're going into a price quality level decision where people are like, is it good enough? How good does it have to be? Is it broadcast? All of those things fit into that. I mean, and again, yeah, the hologram was a presentation method trick, right? It's a Pepper's Ghost. The funny part is I can make an amazing looking hologram by pointing a video camera at a real human being, right? Like it's just it's a presentation method. It's a gimmick, it's, what's interesting is starting to talk about volumetric capture, right? Where you are, fully capturing in 3D, full surround, different objects, people, and things like that. And the quality of that starting to come up. It used to be a moment, even 6 months ago, I would have said, you probably wouldn't see volumetric video in a broadcast project. And that's already happened now. So Metastage did a volumetric capture where that wound up in a commercial.
The opportunities are endless. Yes, absolutely. Talking about AI, the artificial intelligence universe is tremendous. But the only thing that I think is a red flag for everybody using it is also the data breach. Like if we are secure when we use AI, and I want Arash maybe to explain that, like, is it safe for somebody, just a normal Joe, just to enter and try to utilize AI to the best advantage of any company whatsoever?
I'm not sure if I understand the question exactly, but if you're talking about privacy,
right?
I mean, what I think is interesting and what I can see coming up with AI is that we are focusing more and more on understanding the content better and not the viewers better. One very good example is how when Netflix launched their service globally, they stopped looking at the data points like gender and region because they realized that this is not important anymore. They started grouping people into fan bases, basically saying this is a group of people that likes anime. And it doesn't matter how old they are and what gender they have and where they live. So that's what I think is interesting with AI. With AI, we have enabled to understand the content that we consume better and not necessarily need to understand the viewers better. And there, as I mentioned, private information. So I think that part is where AI have helped a lot so far.
How about you, John? You think that AI is something like, some people will say it as a risk, even like people start like erasing Facebook and all that, and that's not even AI as much, but like, how do you see they utilize the AI in a safe way? Like something that is not treating for us as a user or owners of a company.
Well, I think it's to me, it's not AI. It's about data privacy, right? And AI, again, it is if you think about it as a tool set to go do something with data, the question is what data is it doing something with, right? So to me, it's not about AI, it's about the digital identity and digital security. And, it used to be that digital rights management was a dirty word and nobody liked it. They were like stopping, encrypting my songs. Music should be free sort of thing. But the reality is digital rights management, and there's a whole crypto side of the blockchain side of the conversation one can have. The idea and the notion is even more important today and will continue to be probably the biggest thing we have to deal with is a person's rights and their rights in the digital world. And we touched on it earlier, somebody who wants to have a digital character themselves in a commercial, who's got the rights to do that? The Vince Lombardi project, again, that it turns out we worked on together. Hey, who knew? It's who has the rights to say it's okay to, create that. The assigning of rights, if you want your digital self to do work in these digital sphere, how do you protect that? How do you, once you create a digital copy, it'll be out there flowing about. If we were all attending this conference together, we would probably be in a room where somebody had walked past a sign that said you waived your rights to being photographed and videotaped because it's a conference. Well, if you waive your rights to be photographed and video, you know what I can do with a video of you today, right? Like those notions of digital rights are the things, and the data and the data protections are the things that, industry, governments, and individuals all have to think about, because that's the thing we have to worry about.
Kerstin, how do you deal with those, obviously dangers out there? Like you produce videos, you talk to your clients, and there's possible and potential data break. How do you deal with those challenges?
I mean, we don't really, that doesn't really come up with us. To be honest, like most of the things that we're producing, there's not really a data issue involved in it. I will say, just from what John was saying, what does concern us is just the ability to have such high quality fake videos, and that you don't really know what you're watching. And what is our responsibility as filmmakers and content creators to be part of finding solutions for that? Because it's not all AI based, but with the algorithms and the way that content is getting fed to people from Netflix to Facebook to everyone, you're constantly being fed a stream of video, and it's really, really hard to be able to tell what is something that is real and something that is completely faked. And we've seen in politics how that can shift perception, and it can move people, and it can anger people. And I think that is something that we all have to look into. And I honestly don't have the solution for it personally, but as a filmmaker, it is something that we're going to have to be continuing to focus on more.
You were talking before about creativity. How can we be creative without depending about, like AI or virtual reality? How can we be more proactive and be more creative instead of being so dependable of AI or data or whatsoever?
I mean, I don't think honestly, we are that dependent yet. I feel like there are certain groups of people that are definitely focusing on it. There's a lot of investment in it. There's a lot of conversation about the metaverse and what metaverse, and really no one knows what it is, and no one knows if it's going to be fully realized in any of our lifetimes. But I'm sure that's the same thing that happened with computers back in the days, when there was a small group of people talking about how we were all going to be connected, and all of the rest of us were just sitting there watching our TV with rabbit ears and trying to get a signal. So, I think that is the evolution of all technology. But, there's still, like right now, there's just a massive boom of content consumption. And so you know, the amount of content that we're creating for a global audience on many, many different platforms is more than we've ever seen before. And most of that content is traditional filmmaking and traditional storytelling.
If Netflix or Hulu or any other platform will start like maybe streaming some sort of virtual reality, if that will be the case, crazy scenario, what will happen? You think like people will enjoy that versus, because if Zuckerberg is doing like is betting into like, you know, creating the virtual reality glasses and all that. I mean, I think it's gonna be in a couple of years is something that's gonna kick out. And if Apple is planning to put it out there in 2023, I think, you know, at some point, these people is doing their focus groups and doing their research because it's apparently appealing to the millennials. So how do you guys see that future? I mean, I don't think we're dependent 100%, but at some point we will be depending on that thing that is appealing to the new generations. No, John?
Well, you know, this is, look, I go through various iterations, and you were right about, you know, there was the hubbub around computers. Look, there was a whole, and you probably all remember moments where, oh my God, people will only consume content on mobile devices at this point. In fact, I had somebody once go, you know, content's just going to be in a 1x1 block because that's Snapchat.
Yeah.
These are additive, not subtractive or replacement. And
Yeah.
so the thing is that embracing yet more content than ever is being made across a bunch of different mediums, right? To me, VR is another way to consume content, and in some cases, different kinds of content. There is a headset manufacturer that's making high-end headsets for consumption of just linear content that's really convenient for being on planes when you don't want to have to look at everybody else's screen. You know, it's the contextual base of how I'm consuming that content. The short form content on a mobile device makes a lot of sense when I'm on a transportation or I've got a quick snack. When I have a moment to sit back and enjoy a bigger screen, maybe different kinds of content. So again, VR or AR represent a continuum in immersion and interactivity in environments, and it isn't a replacement. It's a, you know, sure, Netflix is experimenting with different formats because they're a distribution medium, a distribution entity for distributing content. And they're just looking at what are those outposts to distributing different content. You know, you should be talking about Netflix entering gaming, right? Because the confluence of the gaming world and the linear content world is the mosh pit right now, both from a production technique and what kind of content we're consuming. I mean, you brought up Fortnite. People were in a game going to a concert, right?
Right.
You know, so this is where the next big argument conversation is because the industries that were entertainment, broadcast over here and gaming over here are here, and it just makes it all very mushy.
But I do believe that AR, VR, and AI together are helping to democratize creativity. They're helping anybody with a mobile phone and a laptop start creating something, right? And that's what I think is interesting about it, is that we're going to move away more and more from Hollywood having this AAA content coming out to somebody locally, your neighbor, creating this amazing movie that is going viral, right? And that's what I think is most interesting, where AR is helping out to put out special effects. You can put a dinosaur in the video and it has motion tracking and all of these things that used to be very, very tedious to do on a computer by yourself. So adding VR to that and the VR world and the VR productions, I think you're basically democratizing and helping it. So I don't think we need to choose to live with or without it, or we just need to be responsible a bit of the tools we give out and set restrictions one way or another for, I mean, everywhere from the deep fake videos that we're talking about to something else. But all technology is always the same. People created the computer and people did good things with computers. They did bad things with computers. You can't really restrict it. I do believe that this is some technology that's going to be part of the future, and it will help anybody out there to create amazing content. The question is what tools we give them and what they will create with it.
That sounded like a closing statement right there. It's about 6 minutes left, but I wanted to actually ask John, what will be then this shaping of the future? Like, what is it like definitely outstanding out there in 10 years from now that you believe that will definitely have to be approaching?
Oh gosh, I'm nervous about trying to say what's going to be 3 years from now. But I think as you mentioned, the democratization or the sheer proliferation of tools into the hands of content creators is, it used to be that distribution was the problem. It's like, yeah, you could go shoot a film, but who would see it because you couldn't distribute it? Distribution is ubiquitous now. It's of various shapes and sizes, and yes, some it's hard to make money necessarily, but you can get any piece of content out there pretty much worldwide at this point. The next step is, how am I creating these things and what are the tools? And, you mentioned cell phone. It's, forget AI, forget any of this, is just the amount of processing power and video capture capability in a cell phone, in everybody's pocket, and the ability to do something with that, and the ability to cut something together and then push it out there. So, to me, the next few years are going to get even more interesting because A, the proliferation of content that's going to be created. B, I am keenly interested in where we are taking this mixture of what we've always known as a linear narrative mixed with what we call game engines, but real-time engines, and the tool sets and the ability for creators to tell what kind of stories are we going to be telling then as we are mixing these things together with ubiquitous distribution.
What's your take, Kerstin, on the future of digital for your industry, at least?
I mean, I 100% agree on the democratization of the tools. I mean, I graduated from film school when we had to rent a 16mm camera and shoot on film and edit on film. Mm-hmm. So the fact, and it was completely cost prohibitive for the majority of the people in school to really create or tell their stories. I think that's amazing. I mean, the more that the tools have become easier, like Arash is saying, it is allowing for more diverse voices to come into the world. The amount of, opportunities on different platforms is super important. And I think that's going to continue to change. And that's really exciting. It's just, how do we structure it so we can monetize it, because no one's going to be doing it for free. We need to encourage more investment into it. And finally, I'll say I did a board meeting for a big tech company in a metaverse, and it really gave us a taste of what it was like to not be in person, but to not be on Zoom, to be an avatar, which my son had to help me create, and maybe a hedgehog, but to be with, global CCOs of companies who are in New York or London, I'm in Los Angeles, and feel like I'm so close to them. That was amazing. That was mind blowing. And that, I think the more we start giving creators glimpses of what that looks like, they're going to figure out how to create and work within them. And I think that's the big thing, is the people that are investing in it have to allow more people under the tent so we can see what comes out of it, because that's when the best work comes out.
Well, thank you to the three of you guys. I'm definitely looking forward to see you guys on the avatar on the virtual world somehow within the future opportunities. That was the Global Impact Week, our digital take on shaping the future. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.